But I would answer a few questions, and I'll let you guys run on the rest of your meeting. What do you got for me?
You mentioned farmer suicides for a moment, and one of the big things that I discuss and bring up with most of our presidential organizers that have been coming around is the difficulty of rural mental health care and the lack of availability of it. We have some good services here that do the best with the resources that they have, but it's a very difficult thing, and that is a contributing factor to the farmer suicides.
Well, it's a huge factor. And that's been a concerted effort, unfortunately, by our friends on the other side of the state level, right? A couple of years ago, we passed this nice legislation, said we want to do something about mental health, but show me the money. And we haven't funded it in any way that's meaningful. So in communities like we're in today, in communities around this state, we're seeing a reduction in mental health services, the reduction in mental health providers, the inability then for people to get the care that they need. Maybe it's medications, maybe it's just being able to talk to somebody, maybe it's somebody that just needs to have some rest in a bed for a few days. We've eliminated all those. And that is devastating for these communities. There's no doubt about it. We should be having hearings, Joni Ernst should be having hearings at the Capitol today, saying what are we doing in rural America, because it's not just Iowa, this effort is going on throughout the country. What are we doing in rural Iowa, rural America to improve mental health services? What resources can we be providing in these communities? And then we should be a champion for that, knocking on Kim Reynolds' door.
Trade is very important to Iowa agriculture and Iowa farmers. What would be your position on the USMCA, the NAFTA 2.0?
So the USMCA would be very beneficial to farmers. Let's not kid ourselves. The old NAFTA was pretty beneficial to Iowa farmers. It hurt other parts of the country, and some of those people voted for Donald Trump because of that. I think we need to make sure we have a fair trade deal that helps farmers and other industries in our country. I'm most concerned about the trade deal because we didn't bring labor to the table. We're not talking enough about environmental challenges. We're not talking enough about labor, wage challenges, and fair labor laws in Mexico, especially Mexico, and with this. And if we do that, then that continues to squeeze labor up here in the United States. So right now we have a half of a good deal, good for farmers. We're missing other elements. And why is that? Because we allow special interests in big industry and Wall Street to form these agreements, and we don't bring the other really necessary people to the table for them. And we need to have everybody at the table to talk about what's going on. And if you've been watching lately, everybody's now starting to chime in that if you want Democrats to vote for this labor deal, we want to have some improvements on the economy, or excuse me, on the environment, and they're making headway there. We want to improve labor conditions in Mexico and wages in Mexico that'll help strengthen wages here in the United States. We want to have fair, so what I'm looking for, dispute resolution mechanisms. And right now, big corporations put that all in their favor. They make sure it's all off outside of the United States so that they can control any disputes that there are if we have a dispute within the agreements. And all that has to go away. There's a couple of really huge issues that I think that are out there, and one of them is power and money. And one of our problems with these trade agreements is that the power and money dictates what's in the agreement, and we're missing out some key elements in there. Hope that answers that. Good agreement for farmers. We need to make it a little bit better.
Healthcare is a huge topic in the presidential debates, and everybody's got a different plan, whether it's Medicare for all or the public option, or how we going to get to universal coverage for everybody. I mean, is there a certain plan that you would favor, or like what's your philosophy about healthcare?
Thanks. So I got a pre-existing condition. I'm assuming if I asked everybody, don't raise your hands because HIPAA law. I'm assuming that several people in this room have pre-existing conditions. And I was in the hospital a few months ago. I tell people, ER, emergency surgery, intensive care, yada, yada, yada. Got great care. Everybody should get the care that I got in this country. The greatest country in the world, everybody should get my kind of care. How do we get to there? For me, should just be the goal. Everybody has health care. That should be, that gets us into the end zone. I'm a sports guy, so I'm going to use a sports analogy for a minute. I don't care if we run to the right or run to the left. I don't care if we throw a pass over the top. The end zone, the goal is make sure we all have affordable, quality, accessible health care. For me, I think the fastest way forward is to take the ACA and insert a public option that becomes a Medicare for all who want it, or Medicare for all who need it. That would be the fastest and most efficient thing. I do talk to Democrats and Republicans and independents alike who say, I like my plan. And we made this mistake already, right? We told people they could keep their plan and it didn't work the way we wanted to, and that became a big rallying cry for the other side. 150 million people in this country have a plan. We shouldn't just yank their plan from them if they like their plan. We should provide an option for them. If they want to go to the Medicare, if they want it, or if they need it, then they can move to that plan. If they want to keep their employer-based plan, if you're a teacher, or there's some union folks around this country that work hard to get the plan that they have, they want to keep their plan. And I think that's the fastest way forward. We could talk about lowering the Medicare age from 65 to 55. That might be an idea, right? And that, I think, is going to be the most economically feasible from a tax perspective. I love Bernie Sanders, but I don't think free is going to work. There's a Bernie guy here tonight. But I don't think free is the answer, because it's not free. But we got to remember what the goal line is, and we shouldn't kill what we're trying to get to because we can't agree on which play we're going to run to get in the end zone. Right? The Super Bowl is getting the ball in the end zone. We all have health care. Touchdown doesn't make a difference which way we go to get there. My idea, though, is a combination. Is that what your question was?
Yeah, I was going to ask about healthcare, but I have another question as well. As a teacher, and you as a former teacher as well, one of the things I've been glad to hear some of the candidates talk about is education. And I think everybody agrees that one of the reasons education is becoming a big topic is because we have the absolute worst Secretary of Education in the history of our country. But that being said, what do you think about pre-K all the way up to, you talked about free, college debt, student debt, maybe community college for everyone, because that seems, high school doesn't seem to necessarily be the gateway anymore. We need to have more training. So if you just want to comment on education.
Yeah, no, thanks. I need to go back to healthcare just 1 second. I'm sorry. So a couple of things on healthcare, so we didn't talk about. And I mentioned in my earlier remarks, but pharmaceuticals is something we need to go address really quickly. If you buy insulin, a can for $30 and 500, here's a problem with that. We sort it out. We talk about the overall cost of healthcare too. It's not just on insurers. It's also about the cost of care, figuring out technology to improve care and things like that. And we need to talk about what we're all doing to become healthy. We got to do some heavy lifting ourselves too to live healthier lives and things like that. So I just want to make sure I added that in there because my guy at home said he didn't say that in his presentation. When it comes to education, now as a teacher, I taught in Seymour, Iowa was my first teaching job. You know where that is? It's 5,000 miles from here, I think, out in Wayne County, 10 miles from the Missouri border, south of Highway 2, an old coal mining town. It was my first teaching job as a head football coach. 6-on-6 girls basketball, if you guys remember that. That was a lot of fun. And then I taught in the classroom with 16, and we always obviously know the difference in that. So if we're going to do anything free with education, it's pre-K education. We want to make sure, especially people in zip codes where they don't have the same leg up as others, right? We know how important early education is to the future of those kids. It's well documented, the data is there for us. We need to make sure we continue to invest in our public schools. Our product of both public and private schools, we're talking about public and private schools, they have goals each. But we need to make sure that our first priority is to our public schools. And again, what our state legislature's been doing over the last several years is criminal, what we're doing in our public schools. But it is aimed to make our public schools weaker. That's our goal. The same thing with college. I went to college. I didn't leave with that kind of debt. I covered it mostly on my own. What's happening today, it's a concerted effort to make college unaffordable for the lower segments of our communities. And they're doing a damn good job of it. And the people that are figuring out and trying to grind through it are leaving with tens of thousands of dollars of debt. Right? It's a concerted effort by this other party. And that's why I'm dumbfounded when I come to communities like this that my fellow Republican brothers and sisters aren't seeing that. That party's out there to hurt them, right? With an ideology that is really backwards. I think we need to have an effort for what I call a high school plus. Half of our kids aren't going to go to college, right? And there's great jobs, being an electrician or being a plumber, going into become a firefighter or a police officer, or any number of jobs that you can do that you don't need a college education. We need to do a better job of supporting those, working with our labor unions, apprenticeships, community colleges, or other just post-secondary bridges for those kids that aren't going to go. And we got to do something about college affordability. It's another hearing we should be having at Capitol Hill in D.C. One that Joni Ernst won't go ahead, but she's paid not to do that. Okay? So we need to go asking why, what has happened in the last 25 years that all of us that graduated in the 80s, early 90s from college didn't leave with this mountain of debt, and then now people today, we're just talking about 4-year public universities are leaving with mountains of debt. And let's go identify what the real culprit is, which is our friends on the other side in a concerted effort to take money away from everybody. So all those areas we need to talk about. We need to talk about what our real outcomes should be for education too, in a changing economy, a 21st century education system to meet a 21st century technological economy. What are we teaching kids? How much better are we doing with coding and teaching of coding and technology to prepare kids for that? What are we doing for folks that might be in this room that are my age in their 50 areas that might find themselves out of a job they've been at for 25 or 30 years because of technology and automation might displace them? That is a huge concern that we need to be looking out for and what we're going to do there. So lots of things to talk about in education.